Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you bros are doing well. And speaking of bros, I have 10 fragrances today that will have you smelling better than the average bro. So these are going to be fragrances on the designer realm that are a little bit more under the radar that your average person probably doesn't even know about. That means no myself today, no Sauvage, no Bleu de Chanel, no Eau de Parfum, none of those type of fragrances, none of the ultra popular ones. And I've also got a few niche fragrances as well. All the fragrances I talked to you about are going to be linked in the description. Feel free to check them out there, and feel free to check out these codes, including the new Max Aroma codes, because they did indeed change. Technically, they changed a little while ago. I didn't realize until I went myself to the website and was shopping for something, put in the code, and it didn't work. Oops. It's been different for months. So those new codes for Max Aroma, be aware of those. The old ones, they are no more. And as I said, these fragrances today, they're gonna have you smelling better than the average bro, but don't think that that means these fragrances are not extremely versatile or that they're not compliment pullers, because they are all of that. It's just you can actually get those things, the versatility, compliment factor, all that stuff, without getting sometimes the myselfs, the Eroses of the world. Nothing against them, of course. I'm gonna start things off with this beauty right here, Gin Tonic from M. Michelob. This thing smells amazing when it's warm outside, but it also smells really good when it's cool outside as well. This is one of those fragrances that you should bust out and use when it's really chilly outside, because it takes on a different facet. Really sparkling, sweet, fresh, bright. Of course, you got the name Gin Tonic, letting you know kind of what's going on there. Gin and tonic, along with ginger, mint, citrus, some floral notes in there, some woods. Extremely bright, clean, a little sweet, attention grabbing. It is one of those niche fragrances that kind of walks the line between niche and designer. So it has that designer wearability to it. Actually, it's vaguely reminiscent of Lacoste L1212 Eau Fraiche, only done in a much higher quality. But like I was saying, it walks that line where you get that designer sensibility, but it has the higher quality of a niche fragrance. Full retail, this one is like $250 at Max Aroma, but you remember what I mentioned, the codes? Use those codes, save yourself some money. Max Aroma, of course, a really big store, been around forever at this point. Niche fragrances, designer fragrances, indie fragrances. They're concentrating more, I think, on niche nowadays, like taking on different brands and trying to become a big distributor, but yeah. All right, let's move on to Ferragamo Spicy Leather. This stuff, way overlooked. It is a banger. Ferragamo in general just does not have the level of market penetration fragrance-wise, especially in the US, that a lot of other designer brands have. So you used to have Ferragamo F Black, had kind of a following. A lot of people like that as a cheapie. And then the Ferragamo Uomo line, which I still say is a great line of fragrances, especially the original and Uomo Signature. But that one never caught on in a big way. And then they started up this line, which is based around leather, and it's also not really taken off. Or when I say it's not really taken off, I mean in comparison to a lot of the other releases coming out by its competitors. But again, this stuff is good. Like real good. In fall and winter time, this will grab attention. It smells high quality, high class, presentation looks great, full retail, not too expensive. That is a bummer though, the pricing situation. It's not really all that easy to find at discounters. Full retail price on this, $112 US for a 100 ml size bottle. And when it does pop up at discounters, it's usually around 80, 85. And I think the reason for that is just, again, it's not something that's commonly in stock. So when they get it, they don't get much of it and they just mark it down a little bit. The quality is actually goofy high. For a fragrance that's 112, it smells like a fragrance that another brand from maybe a name with more cachet would put out for like 180. A really nice, sweet, spicy fragrance. A lot of saffron in there, black pepper. The leather is really sexy, wearable, approachable, not funky, animalic, weird, none of that. And this is that type of fragrance where it might catch you off guard how much people actually like this, especially in the air. When it's cool outside, this stuff is magnetic, because a lot of times outside of something like maybe ombre leather from Tom Ford, people will think, you know, leather fragrances, it's not really a big compliment pulling type of fragrance, you know, that style. But this stuff works, and it works well. Now we got one from Michael Malul, American Novelist. This is part of their Esquire collection that they did in collaboration with Esquire magazine. So they got 4 new fragrances as part of this line. I think American Novelist might be my favorite. This one I did first impressions on, and it was like shocking kind of in a way. I was like, oh, I like that a lot. And just the more I smelled it, I was like, man, I'm gonna roll with that. You know, give that some wear. The opening has almost like, off a strip, this slight kind of melon almost sweetness. It's not a note in the fragrance. There's bergamot, mint, and juniper off the top. It's really fresh, classy, bit sweet. You have sage in there. You have a little leather in the mid as it dries down. Really versatile. Easy to wear, compliment pulling. You have woods in the base of the fragrance, but it maintains a nice bit of freshness and sweetness as it dries down. And it's actually pretty unique. And at full retail, it's like 120 bucks before any discounts. And at Michael Malul's website, there's always a 20% off discount. Like my code is GENTCents, will get you 20% off. So you use that code, which is again available all day, every day, and it makes it a sub $100 fragrance, full retail, direct from the brand. And this is one of those times where you smell something kind of like with spicy leather over here, and you go, wait a second, if they can give me a fragrance like this, the nice presentation, pressurized atomizer, good quality and everything like that, for this price point, what's going on with some of these other ones out there? Really nice, very attention grabbing. This one and Editor-in-Chief, my 2 favorites. Let's go back to niche with Mibizu, One Night Only. And these are really cool presentation-wise. They come in like an enormous sort of book box, basically. Might be like a little overkill to some people maybe, but it is really cool, very unique. And the bottles have this kind of rubberized matte feel to them when you hold them in your hand. And this one is, I think, the same price full retail as the Gin Tonic over there. It's like $250 full retail, if I'm not wrong. But I think I'm not, but I might be, but I think I'm not. So this has violet leaf, it has leather again. It's not a leather themed video, but it's got leather again. Also iris, sandalwood, cardamom, nice, sweet, dark, woody fragrance with pretty big performance. Like this stuff lasts a long time, projects like an unholy monster. And while it does have that dark, mysterious, sexy, woody vibe to it, there's also like a little creamy, sweet vibe. It has clean aspects to the scent as well. So the note breakdown is not crazy complex. There's not like 50,000 things going on, but there is enough here to keep it interesting, and it still has that wearability. I really like it. It actually vaguely reminds me of Jet Black Enigma, which is a fragrance that I creatively directed a few years back with Michael Malul, but not the exact same, just kind of like in that family, in that wheelhouse to an extent. Really nice, smells fantastic, people love it. So this one really, really good. And from the fragrances from Mibizu that I've smelled so far, which is not all of them to be fair, that one's my favorite. All right, we got next up Pure XS from Paco Rabanne. Now I know you hear Paco Rabanne, you're like, ah man, everybody knows Paco Rabanne, and that's true. But when it comes to Paco Rabanne, most people are wearing one of the 1 millions or one of the Invictus or Phantom, I guess. Just about everything in the XS bottles, whether the original XS, Pure XS Night, rest in peace, F's in the chat, or Black XS, those get overlooked. I don't feel like they should get overlooked, but they do. Pure XS is one I've been harping on pretty much ever since it came out. I think this stuff is way overlooked, but maybe It's just because it was ahead of its time a little bit. So this came out in 2017. It's got a really sparkling, sweet opening, like a carbonated beverage. It has a great vanilla note, ginger in there as well. And when this first came out in 2017, for the most part, people derided it. They were like, it's whatever, it's junk. Or at least a good portion of the fragrance community kind of viewed it that way. Another too sweet Paco Rabanne release. And it is sweet. I mean, it's got some additional warm spices and a little bit of an aromatic feel to it. There's other things going on, but it is sweet. And there is leather in there again. I swear, some of these don't have leather, but it has this sugary, resinous feel to it. And again, a lot of people were like, whatever, and just didn't give it the time of day, but I always love this stuff. I really enjoyed it, and Pure Excess Night also really liked that. It smells a bit similar to another Paco Rabanne, Invictus Victory. Now, it's not the exact same as Invictus Victory, but when you smell them side by side, you can be like, Pure Excess walked, so Invictus Victory could run. So it gets completely overlooked, but like I said, maybe it was just a little too early. It came out in 2017, but here we are, 7 years later, and this type of fragrance is everywhere, and people are loving them, talking about them, buying them, wearing them, and having great success. It's just this one missed that wave. It was one of the too early ones. Still works though. Let's freshen it up with Lom Idol Platine Privé. I absolutely love this fragrance. It smells similar to Lom Idol Cologne, which was discontinued years back. So it's kind of an odd thing. You've got one fragrance that comes out, you decide, we don't really want to rock with that anymore, discontinue it, and then years later, bring out a fragrance that smells suspiciously similar to that discontinued fragrance with just some tweaks and changes. That's what happened. Of course, hindsight is 2020, but maybe from where we're standing here today, you would say, well, just don't discontinue Lom Idol Cologne. And then when it comes around to making this fragrance, do something that's more different. But like I said, that's hindsight, so it is what it is. I'm glad this is out. The opening smells fantastic, bergamot and grapefruit, really fresh and sweet, instantly arresting. It gets your attention right away. It's also got a nice classy edge to it, which you would expect it to have, being a Guerlain and a Lom Idol fragrance. The almond that's in here ropes it in with all the other fragrances in the line. A touch of a creamy aspect to the citrus from the almond when you first spray it on. And as it dries, you have a really nice, fresh, once again, vetiver note, giving you a masculine woody base. The citrus is a little reminiscent of how Louis Vuitton has used citrus in some of its fragrances in the opening, but obviously this is going to be closer to, like I said before, Lom Idol Cologne. Ooh, man, that is just stupid good. Let's go, with this one next. Brioni Eau de Parfum Intense. Now this is a fragrance where you look at the note breakdown. If you know nothing about it, you see oud in there, you see patchouli in there, you look at the bottle, all blacked out, the name Eau de Parfum Intense, and you think, I don't know if I want to spend my money on that. That seems like something I would wear once a year, if ever, just not something really for me, not something I can pull off. Or at least a lot of people might think that. Then you go ahead and give it a spray and you realize, that's something entirely different. The opening is once again just awesome. I love the opening. I make no apologies for that. Has tangerine and apple, very fresh and sweet. Actually more sweet than fresh, with a little green aspect to it, just the faintest hint of this dark woodiness underneath. Not animalic, not something funky, fecal, no urinal cake kind of smell going on here, none of that. You have additional sweetness from saffron in the mid, vanilla in the base, which helps keep it balanced, but again, leaning more toward the sweet side of things. And I know for some people, they would say, well, I don't want that. I want something more animalic, something darker, something funkier, more mysterious, more animalic, whatever. But for the majority of people, this is gonna be something that gives you a hint of that, gives you a taste of that, which is gonna set it apart from all the other mainstream stuff out there. But then that sweetness, which is again, there in the opening, the mid, and the dry down is gonna keep it appealing. And it's gonna balance things out enough to where people can actually wear that and it will absolutely set you apart. Okay, after that we got Roca's Mustache Eau de Parfum. This one is just an amazing buy nowadays. Really affordable at discounters. It doesn't cost that much at all for a big size bottle. It costs even less, obviously, for a smaller size bottle. I think you can get a 75 ml for under $30 nowadays. Don't hold me to that. If you watch this like way in the future, that could be totally wrong, but as of when I'm shooting this, you can. And it smells great. Really similar in ways to YSL Tuxedo, only obviously much cheaper. And as I've said before, this is a big hype beast at one point in time. And those bottles that you can nowadays get for sub 30 bucks, or the larger size for I think around 40, maybe a little under 40, those used to be going for double, and some people were asking triple that amount. And that wasn't that long ago. So this is just one of those ones where demand was here and supply was down there, and finally it's caught back up, and at discounters it's evened out to a more normal price for the brand. And it's not that this is a cheap brand, because I said, you know, the price is leveled out for the brand. The brand itself is actually pretty nice. The ingredient quality is there, presentation quality is there. It's just, it is a brand that at discounters is typically marked off by a pretty substantial margin. So some of the main notes you're gonna get from this, a little bit of citrus off the top, pink pepper, some woody notes, but it's really about the vanilla, and then also the resins in there, that resinous sweetness and warmth. Solid performance, really nice longevity. Projection is okay, it gets the job done. And like I said, if you're looking for a cheap tuxedo alternative, this should be at the top of the list. I know there are a bunch of tuxedo clones out there, and you could go with one of those, but I think for my own personal taste, sub 30 bucks, I'd get this. Follow that up with the scent Elixir from Hugo Boss. So yeah, another brand that people know. People know Hugo Boss, just like they know Paco Rabanne, just like most people know Guerlain, or a good amount of people. But the scent is one of those lines that just kind of, it's always there, but it's not blowing up, if that makes any sense. Like, this is in no danger of becoming, you know, the next Sauvage, for better or worse. And the scent Elixir is just magic. Now, like a lot of fragrances coming out right now in this time frame, it is sweet. This is a fragrance from this year, 2024. It's got lavender, red pepper, like chili pepper note off the top, and sandalwood. So really dumbed down, no breakdown once again. One thing you'll notice there, the maninka fruit, which is across pretty much every fragrance in the scent line, not in there. I mean, you still get that vibe, but it's not an official note. So yeah, clean, sweet lavender, similar to the scent Magnetic, which came out previously. That one's also really good. And if you're somewhere where you can actually try the scent line, I would try Magnetic and Elixir both. You know, don't blind buy both of them at the same time unless you're aware that there could be some overlap to where you find them redundant. But if you can try them both, that would be good. And then you can see like which one jives a little bit better for you. Classy, sexy, a little bit powdery, really well done. For fall and winter evenings and date nights. And we are gonna wrap it up with Blockade from Mind Games. Now this is an Aventus style fragrance, and I know Aventus style fragrances are a dime a dozen. There's 82 million of them out there, and it does get boring. It does get boring when you're talking about, oh, another Aventus type scent. I get it. I mean, I've smelled so many new releases over the years where you smell it and go, oh, Aventus again, that you just eventually like tune it out to an extent. But even though it does get boring, it does get tired, it does get worn out, from time to time you get a fragrance that's an Aventus style scent, and you give it a whiff and you go, oh, I'm actually glad they made that for once. Wow, wow, wow. And that's this. That is this. This is really, really good. It is pricey. It is expensive. I think it's the most expensive thing here. I know it's the most expensive thing here. But the little twist this does as a green mango note, so instead of pineapple, you're getting this mango, gives it an interesting tropical twist to the original style, the original DNA, but it still has that wearability and that compliment factor. It smells great. It's really addictive. You just want to wear it all the time. Now, if you wanted to say, I don't think it's worth it because the price is X and I think it should be valued at Y, I'm not gonna argue that. But if we're just talking in terms of like the appeal of the fragrance when you smell it and how easy that is to wear and how much it appeals to other people, that's one of the best out there. So that one's gonna wrap it up. There we go, 10 different fragrances that'll have you smelling better than the average bro, while still taking into account what the average bro really wants at the end of the day. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.